Friends, today I want to tell you something that can change your life forever. Right now, at this very moment, God is speaking directly to you. Yes, you! He is reaching out, calling your name, and inviting you to open your heart. Life is full of noise, distractions, and doubts, but if you can quiet your mind and listen, you will hear the voice that matters the most. God is speaking to you, and He wants to guide you into your breakthrough, your purpose, and your destiny. Often we expect God to speak in dramatic ways. We imagine thunderous voices, blazing lights, or miraculous events that cannot be ignored. We look for signs that are unmistakable so we can be certain that what we are experiencing is divine communication. But the truth is, God rarely works in ways that demand our attention with spectacle. More often, He speaks in the quiet moments, in the stillness where our hearts can truly hear. The silence is not emptiness. It is a sacred space where God can gently reach our minds and souls, shaping our thoughts, guiding our decisions, and preparing us for the journey ahead. Silence creates an environment where distractions are removed, where the noise of the world, the chatter of doubts, and the rush of life no longer drown out the subtle whispers of God. In these moments, we begin to recognize His presence not because it shouts at us, but because it resonates deeply within our spirit, awakening understanding, peace, and clarity. Many people fail to notice these quiet communications because they have become accustomed to constant activity, constant noise, and constant distraction. Life moves at a relentless pace, filled with phones, notifications, responsibilities, and endless obligations. In the midst of this chaos, the small nudges, the soft impressions, and the fleeting thoughts that come from God are often overlooked or dismissed as coincidence. Yet, if we learn to pause, even for a moment, and give our hearts permission to be still, we start to notice patterns, insights, and feelings that could not have come from our own reasoning alone. God speaks in ways that often feel like intuition, like a sudden sense of direction, a compelling idea, or a deep inner knowing that guides us toward decisions that lead to blessing rather than harm. A simple but powerful example can illustrate this beautifully. Imagine a young woman named Sarah, who has been praying for guidance about her career. She is unsure whether to leave her current job, which feels stagnant, and pursue a new opportunity in a completely different field. The world tells her to look for loud signs, a job offer falling from the sky, a mentor shouting advice, or some monumental event that proves the decision for her. But none of that happens. One quiet morning, while sitting alone in her room, she feels a gentle prompting to research a course related to the new field. At first, she dismisses it as a passing thought, but the feeling keeps returning. She decides to follow the quiet nudge and enrolls in the course. Weeks later, she meets a mentor through the course who becomes instrumental in helping her transition into the new career successfully. The change does not arrive through dramatic signs, it comes through subtle, silent guidance. God speaking in the quiet, unnoticed moments, leading her step by step toward her destiny. The lesson here is that God's communication is often personal, subtle, and intimate. It is a form of guidance that requires attention, patience, and a willingness to trust the process. The silence becomes a canvas on which God can paint instructions, wisdom, and inspiration, provided that we are willing to listen with our hearts rather than just our ears. Learning to recognize these whispers demands spiritual sensitivity and discernment. It means cultivating habits of reflection, meditation, and prayer, where the focus is not on demanding answers, but on creating a space where the answers can arrive. It also requires humility, acknowledging that we do not always have all the solutions, and that sometimes the smallest nudges, the quietest thoughts, carry the greatest significance. When we embrace silence as a medium through which God speaks, life transforms. Decisions become clearer, paths become brighter, and a sense of peace accompanies our actions because we know we are aligned with divine guidance. The silence that once seemed empty becomes rich with purpose, filled with invisible yet undeniable direction. In this quiet, ordinary moment, God is working in extraordinary ways, shaping our lives, protecting us from mistakes, and drawing us toward our true purpose. Recognizing that God speaks in the silence is not merely an idea, it is a practice of living with attentiveness, patience, and trust, knowing that the quiet whispers of God can have more power than the loudest proclamations of the world. Opening your heart fully is one of the most powerful steps you can take in your spiritual journey. It is not just an emotional act, it is a deliberate decision to let go of fear, doubt, pride, and past hurts in order to receive what God has prepared for you. A closed heart blocks the flow of blessings, wisdom, and love. It acts as a barrier between you and the divine guidance that seeks to transform your life. When your heart is open, you create a space where grace, clarity, and purpose can enter. It is in this openness that miracles begin to manifest, doors begin to open, and your soul experiences freedom and peace that no worldly success can provide. The challenge, however, is that opening your heart fully requires courage and vulnerability. It demands that you trust in something greater than yourself and believe that what lies ahead is far better than what you are leaving behind. Many people hesitate because they have been hurt, disappointed, or rejected, But the truth is that holding on to fear only prolongs stagnation. When you make the conscious choice to open your heart, you are stepping into alignment with the plans and purposes that God has for your life. Opening your heart fully also involves releasing control. Often, we attempt to manage every aspect of our lives, thinking that if we can just control circumstances, we can prevent pain and disappointment. Yet, life rarely works that way, and the attempt to control everything can create walls around the heart. These walls, though they may feel protective, actually prevent the flow of divine guidance and blessings. By opening your heart, you are saying to God, I trust you with my life. I surrender my fears, my doubts, and my insecurities, and I choose to follow your lead. This act of surrender is not weakness, it is strength. It is the strength to admit that your understanding is limited and that there is a higher wisdom that can guide you more perfectly than your own efforts ever could. Consider the example of Michael, a man who had experienced deep disappointment in his personal and professional life. He had been hurt by betrayal and failure, and as a result, he built emotional walls around his heart. He refused to trust again and avoided opportunities that required vulnerability, believing it was safer to remain closed off. One day, after a moment of reflection and prayer, he decided to open his heart fully. He let go of past bitterness and allowed himself to be vulnerable, both with God and with the people around him. Soon after, he encountered a mentor who provided guidance he had never sought before, and he found opportunities for growth and advancement that had been inaccessible while he was closed off. By choosing to open his heart, Michael was able to receive wisdom, relationships, and blessings that had been waiting for him all along. His life transformed not because circumstances suddenly changed on their own, but because his heart was now receptive to the guidance and grace that had always been available. Opening your heart fully also means embracing the unknown with faith. It is impossible to predict every outcome or anticipate every challenge, but an open heart trusts that each step is part of a divine plan. It is a conscious choice to respond to life with hope rather than fear, to listen rather than resist, and to act in alignment with love rather than defensiveness. When the heart is open, every experience, whether joyful or challenging, becomes an opportunity for growth, learning, and deeper connection with God. This openness transforms ordinary moments into extraordinary opportunities and ordinary decisions into steps toward destiny. In conclusion, opening your heart fully is not a single event but a lifestyle. It requires courage, trust, and surrender, but the rewards are immeasurable. When your heart is open, you invite divine guidance, wisdom, and blessings into your life. You experience peace in the midst of uncertainty, clarity in the midst of confusion, and joy in the midst of trials. Just as Michael discovered, the choice to open your heart fully is the key that unlocks doors to new possibilities and allows you to walk in alignment with your divine purpose. The question is, will you open your heart today and allow God to guide your life in ways you never imagined? When you do, you will discover that life becomes not only more fulfilling but also far richer than you ever dreamed possible. Obedience is one of the most transformative acts a person can practice in their spiritual journey. Many people misunderstand obedience as merely following rules or doing something because it is expected. In truth, obedience is an act of faith, a deliberate choice to trust in God's wisdom even when the path is unclear. When we obey, we are aligning our actions with divine guidance, allowing clarity and understanding to flow into areas of our life that once seemed confusing or uncertain. Life often presents us with difficult decisions, crossroads, and moments when the right choice is not obvious. In these moments, obedience becomes the bridge between confusion and clarity. The act of responding faithfully to the nudges, instructions, or convictions God places in our hearts unlocks understanding that cannot be gained through intellect, logic, or personal reasoning alone. When we obey, even in small matters, we create a pattern of trust and receptivity that invites God's direction into every aspect of our lives. Obedience is not always easy. It may challenge our comfort, confront our fears, or require sacrifice. Yet, it is precisely in these moments that obedience becomes most valuable. By acting in faith, we demonstrate that we trust a wisdom greater than our own, and this trust allows clarity to emerge. The process is simple yet profound. When we obey, we experience alignment with God's purpose, and this alignment brings insight and understanding. Life suddenly makes more sense. Situations that once seemed confusing become clear, and decisions that once felt overwhelming become manageable. Obedience turns uncertainty into direction, doubt into certainty, and chaos into order. Consider the story of James, a young man who was unsure about changing careers. He had a secure job but felt a persistent inner conviction to pursue a path in community service. At first, the idea seemed risky and even impractical. He hesitated, analyzing every detail and trying to predict outcomes that were impossible to foresee. The voice of God in his heart, however, continued to urge him to take action, to step out in faith and follow the calling he could not fully explain. After much prayer and reflection, James chose to obey that prompting. He started volunteering part-time while gradually preparing for the career change. Over time, doors opened that he could not have imagined, mentors appeared, opportunities arose, and his path became increasingly clear. What once felt uncertain and confusing became a roadmap. His obedience did not immediately solve every problem, but it created the conditions under which clarity could emerge. By responding to the voice of guidance and taking the first steps in faith, James discovered direction and purpose that had been hidden while he hesitated. Obedience also teaches patience and humility. Often, we want immediate understanding or results, but clarity usually follows action, not the other way around. When we wait to fully understand before obeying, we may delay blessings, miss opportunities, or remain stuck in confusion. By contrast, obedience opens the door for God to reveal His plan step by step. Each act of faith builds momentum, strengthens character, and brings new insights. Obedience fosters trust in divine timing and allows us to see the bigger picture, even when the details are not yet visible. It is a continuous practice that shapes our perspective, cultivates spiritual maturity, and clarifies the path ahead. Furthermore, obedience is often contagious. When we act in faith, others around us notice and are inspired. Our clarity and purpose shine as a result of our obedience, influencing our relationships, our work, and even our communities. The clarity that obedience brings is not only personal, it radiates outward, creating positive ripples that affect everyone we encounter. It transforms not just our understanding, but also our impact in the world. In conclusion, obedience is more than an action. It is a lifestyle of trust, faith, and alignment with divine wisdom. By obeying the guidance God places in our hearts, we invite clarity into confusion, direction into uncertainty, and purpose into our lives. The example of James illustrates how even small steps of obedience can reveal a path that once seemed hidden. Life's challenges and crossroads become opportunities for understanding when we respond faithfully. The question is not whether obedience is worth it, but whether we are willing to trust enough to take that first step, knowing that clarity will follow. When we choose obedience, we choose vision, peace, and certainty in a world that is often chaotic and unclear. Obedience truly brings clarity, and through it we walk boldly into the life we were created to live. Life is full of challenges, obstacles, and trials that can leave us feeling frustrated, confused, or even abandoned. Yet, it is often in these very moments of difficulty that God chooses to speak to us most clearly. Challenges are not merely random events or punishments for our mistakes. They are divine tools designed to teach, refine, and redirect us toward the path we were meant to walk. When life feels heavy and the road seems impossible, it is not a sign that God has left us. On the contrary, it is often a sign that He is speaking, guiding us, and shaping us in ways that we cannot yet fully understand. The discomfort, the struggle, and the uncertainty are all part of a process through which clarity, strength, and purpose are revealed. If we can learn to listen amidst difficulty, we will discover that God's voice is often loudest when the world is quietest and our hearts are most challenged. Challenges speak to us in ways that comfort cannot. Comfort may soothe, relax, or give a sense of ease, but it rarely produces growth. Trials, on the other hand, stretch our faith, test our character, and open our hearts to higher understanding. When God allows challenges to enter our lives, He is inviting us to lean deeper into Him, to trust His timing, and to recognize that our strength alone is not sufficient. In those moments when we feel weak, confused, or afraid, God is often giving us the opportunity to experience His power, guidance, and provision in ways that we could never achieve on our own. Challenges are like the forge that strengthens gold without the fire. The gold remains soft and unrefined, but through the heat it becomes stronger, purer, and more valuable. Similarly, life's challenges refine our faith, reveal our character, and clarify the direction we must take. Consider the story of Anna, a young woman who had been preparing for a promotion at her job for months. She had worked diligently, invested long hours, and prayed for guidance on how to succeed. However, just as the decision was about to be made, she was passed over for someone else. At first, she was devastated, questioning her abilities and doubting her purpose. She even considered giving up entirely. Yet, in the midst of her disappointment, she felt a gentle nudge in her heart to explore a different path, one she had never seriously considered before. A role in a completely new field that combined her skills with her passion for helping others. It seemed risky, uncomfortable, and uncertain, but she decided to trust the prompting. As she pursued this new opportunity, she realized that being denied the promotion was actually a redirection toward her true calling. What initially appeared as a setback became a stepping stone to a far greater purpose. The challenge she faced was not a punishment but a message, a divine whisper guiding her toward a life of greater fulfillment and impact. Through this experience, Anna learned that God speaks clearly through challenges, often leading us to what is best, even when we cannot see it immediately. Challenges also teach patience and perseverance. In a world that often demands instant results, God uses trials to develop endurance and resilience. These moments reveal our ability to trust Him in uncertainty, to maintain faith when circumstances appear bleak, and to grow spiritually and emotionally. The lessons learned through struggle often become the foundation for future breakthroughs, wisdom, and empathy. They prepare us for the responsibilities and opportunities that would not have been possible without the refining experience. Every challenge is a conversation between our spirit and the divine, a way for God to teach, correct, or guide us with love. Furthermore, challenges remind us that our lives are not meant to be controlled solely by our own understanding. God's ways are higher than ours, and His timing is perfect. When we face obstacles, we are compelled to rely on Him, to seek His wisdom, and to trust His guidance instead of our limited perspective. By paying attention to the lessons embedded in hardship, we begin to recognize the subtle ways God speaks through patience, through change, and even through disappointment. These moments transform our faith into something real, tangible, and tested. In conclusion, challenges are not signs of abandonment or failure. They are opportunities for God to speak, to redirect, and to reveal His plan for our lives. The story of Anna illustrates how what appears as a setback can become a turning point when we remain attentive to God's guidance. Life's difficulties are, in many ways, invitations to listen more carefully, trust more deeply, and walk more faithfully. When we embrace challenges with an open heart, we begin to see that God's voice is present even in the most trying circumstances, guiding us toward growth, purpose, and destiny. Every challenge is in essence a message God is speaking, and if we listen, our lives will never be the same. Every person who walks this earth has a unique purpose, a calling that cannot be duplicated or replaced. Life is not a series of random events, nor is it simply about survival or accumulating temporary achievements. Your existence has meaning, and your life has a divine purpose specifically designed for you. Understanding this truth transforms how we see ourselves, how we respond to challenges, and how we navigate the choices that define our journey. Many people wander through life feeling lost, aimless, or disconnected, unaware that their true purpose is not something they must invent, but something they are meant to discover and live out. Recognizing that your life has a divine purpose is the first step toward living intentionally, fully, and courageously. It is a reminder that you are not an accident, and every experience you have encountered, whether joyful, painful, or ordinary, has been preparing you to step into the role you were created for. Living with the awareness that your life has a divine purpose changes your perspective on setbacks and failures. Obstacles no longer feel like meaningless frustration, and disappointments become lessons, shaping you into the person capable of fulfilling your destiny. Your life's purpose is like a thread woven into the fabric of your experiences. It may be hidden at times, but it is always present, guiding you toward the people, opportunities, and moments that align with it. Understanding that you have a purpose gives your actions weight and direction. Each decision, each effort, and each sacrifice gains significance because it contributes to the larger plan that God has for you. It instills a sense of accountability, motivation, and resilience that transforms ordinary living into extraordinary progress toward fulfilling your calling. Consider the example of Leah, a woman who felt her life lacked meaning despite success in her career and comfortable surroundings. She worked hard, achieved recognition, and enjoyed stability, yet she felt a persistent emptiness inside, a quiet voice suggesting there was more she was meant to do. One day, during a period of reflection and prayer, she felt an unmistakable pull to dedicate her time to mentoring underprivileged youth in her community. At first, the idea seemed overwhelming, and she questioned whether she had the skills or the energy to make an impact. However, she decided to step out in faith and commit a few hours a week to this work. As she engaged with the young people, she discovered talents, leadership, and insights within herself that she had never realized. Her life began to feel purposeful, vibrant, and deeply connected to something greater than personal ambition. Leah's experience illustrates that when we embrace our divine purpose, even small actions can have profound effects, and our lives begin to radiate meaning and fulfillment. Recognizing your divine purpose also requires listening to the quiet guidance that points you toward your calling. Often, the indications are subtle, an inner tug, a passion that will not fade, or recurring opportunities that nudge you in a certain direction. These are not coincidences, they are divine invitations. Ignoring them can leave you feeling stagnant or frustrated, while responding allows you to step into alignment with your destiny. It is essential to cultivate spiritual awareness, reflection, and prayer, so you can discern these invitations and act on them with courage. By following the path that resonates with your heart and aligns with your gifts and passions, you honor the unique design of your life and step into the fullness of what you were created to accomplish. Another crucial aspect of understanding your divine purpose is realizing that it often impacts others beyond yourself. Your life's purpose is rarely confined to personal success or satisfaction. It usually involves touching lives, inspiring change, and contributing to the greater good. When you embrace this perspective, even challenges and sacrifices gain meaning because they serve a larger vision. The fulfillment of your purpose creates ripples that extend into your community, family, and the world, leaving a legacy of influence and inspiration. This awareness gives every effort significance, turning ordinary moments into opportunities to live intentionally and make a difference. In conclusion, knowing that your life has a divine purpose transforms how you see yourself and your journey. Like Leah, when you recognize and respond to this calling, life takes on a sense of meaning and direction that goes beyond mere existence. Your experiences, challenges, and talents are all tools to guide you toward fulfilling your destiny. Living with purpose infuses your actions with intention, gives clarity in moments of uncertainty, and inspires you to rise above fear, doubt, and distraction. Every person has a unique contribution to make, and your life, specifically, is designed to fulfill a divine mission. The question is not whether you have a purpose, but whether you are willing to discover it, embrace it, and walk courageously into the life you were created to live. When you do, every step you take becomes meaningful, and your life becomes a beacon of inspiration for others. So today I challenge you, stop waiting for tomorrow. Stop ignoring the whispers of God in your life. Right now, open your heart fully. Listen with faith, respond with courage, and watch as doors begin to open, paths become clear, and your life transforms in ways you never imagined. Remember, God is not speaking to someone else. He is speaking to you right now. The question is, will you answer? Will you open your heart and let His guidance lead you to the life you were created to live? The choice is yours. Open your heart, listen, and step boldly into your divine destiny.